Hi everyone, welcome to the channel Sluggers Blue for your CAT RC preparation. In today's session, we'll be continuing with the RC that we had taken up in the first part of the session. This RC was asked in your CAT exam in the year 2020 in the second slot, and I've titled the RC as the study of visual culture, 509 words with 5 questions, quite standard for a CAT passage. This is the second part, as I said, of this session. In the first part, we had already discussed the passage. I'd explained the passage to you in detail, and in this part, we'll be going through the questions. So let's start. Okay, now for those of you who are watching, who might be watching one of these videos for the first time, I'll briefly explain to you the structure of these sessions of this course. Okay, so now guys, every single session caters to one RC, one reading comprehension, and is in turn split into two parts. The first part of the session is where I explain to you the passage of the RC in detail, and the second part of the session is where I take you through the questions of the RC. Okay, and yeah, so and 40 such sessions make up a course. 40 of these sessions make up a course which is titled as an anthology of RCs, which is directed towards your reading comprehension preparation for the CAT. All right, the current video that you're watching is the second part of this session, which caters to this particular RC. All right, so let's move on to the questions then. Okay, coming to the questions, the first question says, no amount of social analysis can account fully for the existence of Michelangelo or Leonardo. In light of the passage, which one of the following interpretations of this sentence is most accurate? Now, guys, this the point of reference for this sentence is here, where the author has, well, the same sentence has been cited here. And see, first of all, let's try to understand what does the author mean by social analysis. Guys, this point of reference comes from the paragraph where the author has talked about the second concern, right, where he encourages scholars to scrutinize visual practice as much as they scrutinize images, because so far as the experience of uh, beauty is concerned, it is based not just on the images, according to the author. It's in fact there is also another component to it, which is the visual practice, the set of visual practices which are involved in the perception of these images. Okay, so that's what contributes to, like, both of these together contribute to the experience of beauty. And the social analysis part is the part that refers to the visual practices. Okay, this is the part that refers to, like, by doing the social analysis, you're basically trying to figure out how, this is the how part, this is the how part of how the images contribute to the creation of the experience of beauty or the experience of genius, right? So you have your, there's an image that has some inherent value, and then there is the mechanism which along with the image creates the experience of beauty. And by social when the author wants the scholars to scrutinize these visual practices to by social analysis, and well, understand the how part, like how these images are able to create the experience of beauty. Okay, now, so now, having understood, gotten sense of this backdrop of this paragraph, now let's try to read this sentence and try to interpret it by ourselves first before going through the options. The sentence says, no amount of social analysis can account fully for the existence of Michelangelo or Leonardo. So by this, what the author primarily wanted to say was that Michelangelo and Leonardo were such great artists. The magnitude of beauty, the experience of beauty that is contributed by their art is so great that irrespective of how much of whatever social analysis and whatever extent of social analysis that you conduct, you still won't be able to capture all the contribution of the beauty that the art has contributed. So, which is to say that there is certainly of some part of the contribution to the experience of beauty which comes directly from the image itself. Okay, so the magnitude of this of beauty and the magnitude of value and beauty and genius that is apparent in their masterpieces is so much that there's no kind of social analysis can completely account for that. At least something definitely comes from the image itself. There's something that is definitely inherent in the image itself. Okay, that's what he meant to say. Now, in light of this, now let's look at the options. The first option says socially existing beings cannot be analyzed, unlike the art of Michelangelo or Leonardo, which can. So, guys, see, this is a very clear and very simple distortion. The author hasn't talked about socially existing, the potential for analysis of socially existing beings. The analysis that is being considered is that of the visual practices which are involved in perceiving the image or which are responsible for creating the experience of beauty apart from the image itself. So that's the idea. Uh, that's what we are trying to analyze. That's what the author is asking the scholars to scrutinize, right? So the analysis is related to the visual practices and not to any kind of socially existing beings or virtually existing beings or whatever. So this is definitely uncalled for, and you can eliminate this very easily. Coming to the second option, Michelangelo or Leonardo cannot be subjected to social analysis because of their genius. No, in fact, the author hasn't said that they cannot be subjected. The author has said that social analysis cannot account for all of their uh, talent or all of the value that they've delivered. Towards the later part of the paragraph, he actually says that although no amount of social analysis can account for all of their genius, still it should be conducted because it will have some other benefits. He has described those benefits here in the later part of the paragraph. So it's definitely certainly not that he believes that they cannot be subjected. He does believe that they can be subjected. All he says is that it will not be enough to explain all of the value that their art has delivered, but still they should be subjected. He has still made a point that even uh, even after acknowledging this idea that not all of the value can be attributed just to the social analysis, just to the visual practice. Some must be inherent in the masterpieces as well, but still he has made a case for subjecting their art pieces and themselves then and these geniuses to social analysis, right? So this is a factual error, in fact. You can eliminate this as well. Coming to option C, no analysis exists of Michelangelo's or Leonardo's social accounts. Okay, the author hasn't really talked about whether the existence or the non-existence the of Michelangelo's or Leonardo's social accounts. And moreover, he's especially has not said anything about their social accounts, okay, and has also not said about anything about the existence or the lack of existence of anything related to them. So you can eliminate this also quite easily. Coming to option D, social analytical accounts of people like Michelangelo or Leonardo cannot explain their genius. Yes, that's accurate. That's what he's trying to say. That these people were geniuses of such a magnitude that no kind of social analysis can explain their talent or genius completely, right? There must have been some talent or genius that was inherent in their artwork or in themselves, apart from that which may have come from the visual practice. So yes, your correct answer will be option D. Okay, let's go to the next one now. Coming to question 2, the stem says seeing operates on the foundation of covenants with images that establish the conditions for meaningful visual experience. In light of the passage, which one of the following statement best conveys the meaning of this sentence? Okay, so before we go to the options, let's try to understand the meaning of the sentence by use of the schematic. It says seeing operates on the foundation of covenants with images that establish the conditions for meaningful visual experience. Operates on the foundation of covenants with images. Okay, the covenants with images that establish the foundation for meaningful experience. The covenants along with the images, they establish the foundation for meaningful experience. That's what the author means to say. That seeing operates on the foundation of covenants with images that uh, establish a foundation for meaningful experience. Okay, now let's look at the options. The first option says sight as a meaningful visual experience. Sight as a meaningful visual experience is possible when there is a foundational condition established in the images of covenants. Guys, the author hasn't said that the images are those of covenants. The images are separate entities. It's just the author just says that seeing operates on the foundation of the covenants, a separate set of entities, with the images, another separate set of entities, okay, and to create the foundation for a meaningful experience. He doesn't say that the images are themselves those of the covenants. So that's a very clear distortion. So you can eliminate this on account of that expression. Coming to option 2, it says images are meaningful visual experiences when they have a foundation of covenants seeing them. Again, guys, covenants is not a term that has been used for the audience or the viewer who's going to see the images. So this expression, covenant seeing them, doesn't make sense. Up until here, this option was not so like was would not have been a very bad choice. Images are meaningful visual experiences when they have a foundation of covenant. So maybe okay, fair. It comes close. It comes close. If you ignore the seeing them part, it comes close. But when you read the whole thing, this definitely distorts the whole idea. The covenants don't see the images. The covenants help us make sense of the images to create a meaningful experience of seeing, right? So you can eliminate this option as well quite easily. Coming to the next option, it says sight becomes a meaningful visual experience because of covenants of meaningfulness that we establish with the images we see. Guys, if you read this carefully, this is a very nuanced paraphrasing of what the author has said here. Okay, so we'll read the actual sentence and the sentence one by one. The first sentence, the actual sentence says, sight operates on the foundation of covenants with images that establish meaningful experience, right? That means covenants that establish meaningful experience. They sites operates on the foundation of these covenants that establish meaningful experiences with images. Okay, so I'm just rearranging the words here without any distortion in meaning, and that's almost seems like the paraphrasing of option C. If you read this, sight becomes a meaningful visual experience because of covenants of meaningfulness, covenants of meaningfulness that we establish with the images that we see. So it's just that these expressions, the place of these expressions have been interchanged here. Now that does not mean that you can always change the place of expressions in the sentence without there being any change in meaning. No, that's not the case. But in this case, it does not change the meaning. It doesn't alter the meaning grossly. And then that's the reason why this is still called for. This can be a potential answer. Okay, let's go to the next option, which says the way we experience sight is through images operated on by meaningful covenants. Okay, now guys, the meaningful part relates to the experience that has been created. The meaningful part does not relate to the covenants. The covenants may be those of meaningful visual experience, but that doesn't mean that they are meaningful covenants. Okay, meaningful covenants and covenants that establish the conditions for meaningful visual experience or covenants of meaningfulness are not the same. Meaningful covenants is different from covenants of meaningfulness. Okay, so and so far as this actual sentence is concerned, which says that foundations of covenants with images, the covenants that establish the conditions of meaningfulness, meaningful visual experience, this can still be related with with part C, which says covenants of meaningfulness, because these are covenants that establish the condition for visual experience, and hence they are covenants of meaningfulness. But to say that these are covenants that establish the condition for meaningful visual experience, and hence they are meaningful covenants, would be a distortion, right? So although this is very nuanced, it's a very nuanced difference here. That's something that I definitely agree with. So this will not be an easy option to eliminate, that's for sure. But meaningful covenants does not relate with what the passage says. On the other hand, covenants of meaningfulness does relate with it. Okay, and hence you'll eliminate option D, and your correct answer for this question will be option C. If you still have doubts, and some of you might in fact have, you can drop it in the comments and then we'll take it up. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. Meanwhile, question 3. The stem says, which set of keywords below most closely captures the arguments of the passage? Now, guys, these are the kind of questions which test the learner on two aspects. One is uh, the central idea, or how whether the learner has been able to gauge the central idea of what the or the primary purpose or the primary subject that the author wanted to talk about or convey through the passage. And the second is whether the passage structure more or less. And so the options, the each of the options has a set of keywords, right? Which are supposed to demonstrate the flow of ideas in the passage. Now, what is useful to know here is that well, in most of the options, there'll hardly be a scenario where the keywords which have been used in the options uh, are from outside the passage. They would generally not make your job so easy to eliminate. So right, so they'll definitely, even in the incorrect options, the keywords will be ones which have been used in the passage. But then how do you differentiate, right? How do you figure out that which option is incorrect and which is not? Well, there's every paragraph, if you notice that every part of the passage in every paragraph, not every point is a core point. A paragraph comprises some points which are core to the topic that the author wants to talk about, and some other points which are just supportive in nature, which are just peripheral points that the author wants, which are there to basically make a case for the primary or the core point of the paragraph. And that's the case with every paragraph. Okay. So for example, if we try to mark the core points in these paragraphs, in the first paragraph, it was about the two assertions. The first was about visual culture. The second one was about the study of visual culture. And the second paragraph was about the examination of any kind of imagery. The third paragraph was about uh, the various types of scrutinizing visual practices, basically. Then the third para, the fourth paragraph was about scholars studying visual culture might properly focus their interpretive work on life worlds by examination of these artifacts and how they contribute to the construction of the world, and then how that might help scholars to focus their interpretive work on life world. So, and then the last paragraph was mainly about the constituents of vision, right, or the structures of perception. So these have been now the author has also talked about, let's suppose, in case of the first paragraph, yes, he has talked about the attendant intellectual, emotional, and perceptual sensibilities, but that's just a peripheral point. That's not the core point here. Similarly, he has also talked about, uh, let's say, design of the human body or biologically constructed operations, right? He's also talked about these in details, but again, those are parts to the core argument he's trying to make, right? So that's how you're supposed to differentiate between the keywords which are core and which are not, which are supportive in nature, which are peripheral. Okay. Now let's, in light of this backdrop, let's look at the options. The first option says, scholars, social analysis, Michelangelo and Leonardo and interpretive devices. No, the focus of the author has not been on scholars. It has been on the assertions. It has not, well, yeah, in case of the second keyword, that seems to make sense. Social analysis relates to the analysis of visual practice, so that's all right. But scholars doesn't make sense. Michelangelo and Leonardo were just part of, there was just examples which the author has used to demonstrate a counterpoint, a potential counterpoint, which he later acknowledges and then, anyways, uh, he acknowledges the counterpoint and then anyways makes a case for the point that he had made, his own proposition. But still, this is not a core point. That's what I'm trying to say here. Interpretive devices is what the author mentions here, I think, in the last paragraph. But again, this is again not the core point here. The core point in the last paragraph was the constituents of vision and structure of perception. So you can easily eliminate the first option. Second option, visual construction of reality. Visual construction of reality, work of genius. Again, work of genius was not the core point. Ethnography was not the core point. It is just a part of a methodological implication. Epiphenomena, yeah, it can be considered core, but not to the whole, the complete last paragraph, but only to the last couple of lines. It is core, yes, but not to the whole paragraph. So even but most of even case of in case of option B, even if you don't go on and assess the first expression, which is visual construction of reality, the next two terms definitely make a case for eliminating this option. And then please also understand, guys, that if you have been able to eliminate an option by virtue of just figuring out the error with some parts of it, you don't need to go on and check each and every part of the option. Maybe that will help you save some precious minutes or seconds at least. So yeah, coming to the next option, he says imagery. Yes, imagery has been talked about. Imagery is, he does talk about imagery here. Visual practices, yeah, he does talk about visual practices here. Life worlds, yes, it's something that is core, that is relevant. And structures of perception is also something that he has talked about. So at least uh, it might not be all comprehensive, but it is definitely an option that does not have anything objectionable in it, right? So it can be a potential answer. So you'll mark this as a O or small s, and let's move on to the next option. Uh, Visual culture, yes, that has been part of one of the both the assertions, in fact. Aesthetic value. No, this is something that the author has not talked about directly anywhere. Lay audience, no, the focus has not been on lay audience. Visual experience, no, the focus has been more on the constituents of vision rather than visual experience. So again, you can eliminate this option also very easily. Right? Hence, your correct answer in this case would be option C. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 4, the stem says all of the following statements may be considered valid inference from the passage except. We have a triple TF scenario here again. Triple TF is so like three of these four options will be valid inferences, right? So three of them will be can be inferred to be true in the light of the passage, and one of them will not be true. The one which is not true, which cannot be considered valid in the light of the passage, a valid inference will be your answer. Okay, so let's look at the option. The first one says studying visual culture requires institutional structures without which the structures of perception cannot be analyzed. No, guys, studying visual culture relates to the second assertion, and in the context of studying visual structures, the author has only talked about studying all the imagery, studying all scrutinizing visual practice, life worlds in this case, and in this case, the constituents of vision and structures of perception. Nowhere has he talked about anything on the lines of say institutional structures. These are the words which because of which we might want to have we will have some reservations with this option. So this is something that the author has not talked about anywhere, and without which structures of perception cannot be analyzed. The author talks about structures of perception in this paragraph, right? So if you read this, the structures of perception as a physiological process as well as the epistemological framework informing system of visual representation. Vision is a socially and biologically constructed operation depending on the design of human body and how it engages the interpretive devices developed by a culture in order to see intelligibly. Seeing, and then he talks about seeing, that seeing operates on the foundation of covenants. No, he is nowhere has he talked about institutional structures in even in this point at this point of reference where structure of perception has been mentioned. So this is definitely something that cannot be inferred. So this is false, and this stands a good chance of being your answer. Okay, let's come to the next option, which says understanding the structures of perception. Okay, so again from the same point of reference, is an important part of understanding how visual cultures work. Yeah, so how visual cultures work, right? Understanding the structures of for scholars may learn a great deal, right? So that means great deal about what? About the about the working of visual culture when they scrutinize constituents of vision, that is the structures of perception as a blah 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 blah. So yes, it does seem to imply that understanding the structures of perception is an important part of understanding how visual cultures work. So this is something that can be inferred. It is an important part. So you can eliminate this with a capital E because it's true. It can be inferred as true. Okay, let's come to the next option that says artifacts are meaningful precisely because they help to construct the meanings of the world for us. Now, the point of reference for this is here, but it also says the task is to understand how artifacts contribute to the construction of a world. When you say the construction of a world, he's basically talking about the construction of a meaningful context in which to perceive the images, right? As we discussed in the passage explainer, if you recall. So yes, so artifacts are meaningful precisely because they help to construct the meanings of the world. Although there is a slight leap, I do agree that they are meaningful precisely because of that. It doesn't say that they are meaningful precisely because of that. He just says that they do contribute to that, and we need to understand how they do that. But still, it is not a far cry from what the author has tried to say. And moreover, the stem talks about inferences. It doesn't say which of the following are absolutely or exactly true as per the passage, like word by word. So yes, it can be probably something that you can infer. At least you will definitely not consider it to be incorrect, right? So yeah, so this will be again something that we will eliminate with a small e, okay, if not a capital E. Again, the reservation is just being meaningful precisely because of that, right? There's a slight leap here, but still it's not as erroneous as your option A, which talks about institutional structures which have not been mentioned anywhere in the passage. Okay, and at the point of reference. So coming to the next option, visual culture is not just about how we see, but also about how our visual practices can impact and change the world. Yes, he has talked about this, right? It is not just about how we see, it's also about how our, see, the point of reference is visual culture is what images, acts of seeing and attendant intellectual, emotional, and perceptual sensibilities do to build, maintain, or transform the world in which people live, right? So how our visual practices can impact and change the world. So that does definitely matches. So and then the first part, visual culture is not just about how we see, it's also about that. So yes, the acts of seeing. So the first part is also called for, right? It matches with the acts of seeing how we see. Okay. Even this option is something that can be eliminated very easily. It's something that can be considered as a true inference from the passage. So yes, in light of these four options, in light of these, the last three options, the first option is definitely incorrect, and even without comparison, it is incorrect on a standalone basis as well because of this expression, and hence your correct answer will be option A. Okay, so all the following are the B, C, and D are valid inferences except for option A. Question 5, the stem says which one of the following best describes the word epiphenomena in the last sentence of the passage. Okay, the point of reference is right here. Finally, the scholar of visual culture seeks to regard images as evidence for explanation, not as epiphenomena. Okay, as epiphenomena is basically any aspect of a phenomena that is considered to be secondary in nature. It is not considered to be the core part of the discussion or the discourse. Okay, so that's what he said, that he advises the scholars to not consider images, not attribute a secondary state to images, and consider them to be the primary part of the process. Okay, in light of that, let's look at the options. The first option says phenomena amenable to analysis. No, it's not about epiphenomena. It's not about being amenable or not being amenable to analysis. It has nothing to do with analysis. So you can eliminate this with a capital E. Visual phenomena of epic proportions. No, epi does not relate with epic. Okay, so you can, it's just outrightly funny. Excuse me. Coming to option C, phenomena supplemental to the evidence. Yes, phenomena that is supplemental, that is extraneous, right? That is not direct to the evidence, that is not directly contributing, that's supplemented to the evidence. That's not primary in nature. So yes, this can be an answer. This is a potential candidate for a correct answer. Okay, unless we come across a better option. So last one, overarching collection of images. No, it has nothing to do with a collection of images. So absurd. You can eliminate this as well. So hence your correct answer here will be option C. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next part. Okay, coming to the vocabulary section, the way we'll go about this is you have been provided the passage along with some highlighted words, which I figured some of you may have found challenging. And on the right side, the meaning of those respective words. So you can check the word in its context in the, as part of its sentence, and then check, refer to its meaning to get a better understanding of that. Now, the meanings provided here are primarily I've tried to keep them contextual. The general meaning of a word and its contextual meaning are usually the same, but in cases where there might have been a slight difference, we have stuck with the contextual meaning. Okay, and the way you'll want to go about this is pause the video and go for it, because I'm not going to go through. I don't plan to go through each and every word here, because we'll anyways have other separate vocabulary sessions or courses to take care of vocabulary. All right. So, all right, guys. So let's start with the analysis and reading section of the video. So starting with analysis, RC analysis first, the genre for this RC is here. Now, for those of you who might have faced difficulty in the topic of the RC with respect to the topic of the RC, the ideas discussed, or maybe even the terminology of the RC, you would definitely benefit from reading more content from the same genre. The readability of the RC, or not the RC, the passage. Okay, the readability is just of the passage, right? So it basically shows you how difficult or easy the passage was to comprehend. It has been scored out of 10. It is based on a variant of Fleshkin CAD grade level scale, that is the most ubiquitously used readability scale across various types of text. So it is quite reliable. So it is based on the variant of this. So from this, you can gauge how readable or easy or difficult to comprehend the passage was. Next, the length of the passage is also provided here. I would suggest that you better the parameter that you should use for understanding or for checking the length of passage should not be just the number of words, but rather number of words that you are required to read for answering for every question that you need to answer, right? So and which for cat RCs is usually around 100 words per question, plus minus 15 to 20% sometimes. So you can take this as a benchmark and compare how lengthy or not so lengthy this passage was, and accordingly incorporate steps in your strategy to address if you faced issues in terms of because of the passage length. Coming to the last part of the analysis, ideal time to solve the RC is the total time is listed here. Time required that you should have taken up while reading the passage should have been less than this, and for question should have been less than this, and this is the overall total, right? So yeah, so that's the ideal time. Finally, suggested readings for this based on this RC, based on this genre, and based on this RC. A couple of articles have been picked up, which the title and the author and the platform where they are available have been provided here, and the links to these articles are provided in the description of the this YouTube video. Okay, so you can check out those articles and read those, go through those to get some more exposure in this genre and in this topic. Okay, so that completes the reading and analysis part of this section of this session. Okay, guys, so with this, we are done with the fourth RC of the second genre, culture and social sciences. For those of you who have not solved the other RCs which are already published and seen the videos, you can do so by you can get the links for attempting the RCs, and you can also watch the videos by going to the playlist of this course on YouTube in the channel, right? So yeah. Okay, guys, so with this, we have come to the conclusion of the session. Now, for those of you who have not watched the first part of this particular RC, this particular session, you can click here on this card and it will take you on this video, and it will take you to the first part where you can go through the passage explainer to understand the passage in detail. And for those of you who want to watch the intro video of the course, you can click on this card here. It will take you to the intro video of the course. And for those and others again, and definitely if you like the session, do share it with others who might find it helpful and useful, and definitely do subscribe to the channel Struggles Blue for your CAD VRZ preparation. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.